Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the January 31st, 2021 special edition of The Breast There Is, The Breast There Was, and The Breast There Ever Will Be. As always, I am your host, Mikey B, WWE, and tonight's special edition of my podcast is giving the predictions for one of my favorite events of the whole year in the WWE calendar, the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble, I gotta say, is my favorite match of the entire year. And the fact that we get, for the last 3 years now, we've gotten two of them each Royal Rumble with both a men's and a women's. It's twice as good. So I love this event. It has a lot of implications leading into WrestleMania. Of course, the ultimate stipulation is the winner of each of the Royal Rumble matches gets a main event spot for a top title at WrestleMania. So lots at stake. There's always lots of surprises, lots of surprise entrants into the Royal Rumble match. So it's always a very exciting, fun, awesome pay-per-view event of the year. So that said, I will get to my predictions now heading into the show. It's a few hours away, and as always, I go on WWE.com for my reference for the official list of the match card. Normally, it's right on the front page the day of, which I typically try to aim to do it, because I've noticed in really the last year or more, they don't always have that posted, much ahead of time. But even today, now we're about a little less than 4 hours from the start time. It wasn't featured on the main section of the website, so I had to do a little digging, and I did, after clicking on some links on the website, found a list of 6 matches, which they're the ones that they've been advertising. So that's a list I got to go with tonight. So far, all along when I've done my predictions, I have not counted any matches which wind up as a kickoff match towards my prediction count, and I will stick with that for the remainder of this season of my podcast. That will probably change because, quite honestly, their match card is always subject to change anyways, each pay-per-view. So it would be nice to include more matches in my prediction rate for the year. But that said, tonight all we can do is focus on the 6 that are listed on the website. So here we go with the first matchup on the card, which is for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, with the champions Charlotte Flair and Asuka taking on the team of Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. I said this at the last pay-per-view. I believe that was the one where Charlotte and Asuka wound up winning these belts from Shayna and Nia Jax, because Asuka had a mystery partner, and I correctly predicted that Charlotte would be the one who would be the mystery partner, and that team would go on to be successful and win the belts. How did I foresee that happening? Well, again, with us being so close to WrestleMania now, you can kind of start to see how the company is designing their ideal WrestleMania card. And what I predicted correctly is that Charlotte and Asuka would not only win these belts, but what I think is going to happen is they're likely going to lose them before WrestleMania, causing issues between them, and thus setting up a WrestleMania matchup, which would be a rematch from a WrestleMania match they had a few years ago, in which Charlotte Flair was victorious. To me, that's the most entertaining idea I think that they could have, and it's so far my feeling is, my gut feeling is, things are heading in that direction. So I do think that Charlotte Flair and Asuka will retain them tonight. I think that this fallout will begin. WrestleMania is still a couple months away, so the company has ample time to develop these feuds heading into Mania. But that's what I think is going to happen. These two are going to retain the belts since they only won them, a month ago or so. They're going to retain them tonight and drop them somewhere in the next month or so. That's what I feel is going to happen. So Charlotte Flair and Asuka are my picks to retain the women's WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Moving on to the second match of the night, it is for the SmackDown Women's Championship, featuring champion Sasha Banks taking on Carmella. We've already seen this match in the last couple months. There's some of these feuds going on here, which I can see kind of building and not culminating tonight. And I think that they can still continue on and carry forward, possibly into WrestleMania. And as has been the case in recent years, in many title matches, because there's several usually every year with the women's belt, the women's top championship, as well as the two top men's belts. That's a lot of championships going on in one night, and as well as all the secondary titles and everything. So they often like to have a triple threat match in there somewhere on WrestleMania for one of these belts, if not more than one of those. I suspect that this feud isn't going to end tonight with Sasha and Carmella. And to add to that point further, not only do I think this feud's not going to end, but I think that the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble match, who I will reveal in due time here as I'm giving my predictions, I think that woman is going to involve herself in this feud. At the very least, she will. I think if she doesn't get involved in a triple threat style feud, I think she'll at least choose the winner of this match to face at WrestleMania. And so, to my result, I do think Sasha Banks is not relinquishing the title yet, despite Carmella having, her sommelier by her side to help her and probably do some cheating along the way. But regardless, I don't think Sasha Banks' time with the title is coming up yet. I think that wouldn't be very good. It wouldn't be smart, since Bayley held the title for such a long time before. So in this women's championship match for this, the SmackDown Women's Championship, Sasha Banks, I believe, will retain over Carmella. Sorry, and I wanted to say I made a mistake a moment ago. There at WrestleMania, there'll be two top men's title matches and two top women's title matches. Of course, because Asuka is the Monday Night Raw champion right now, and I think that she's just obviously only defending the tag belts tonight. So there's two for each. So it does account for a lot of main event top championship matches. And to add to my point was the fact that there's a high likelihood there will be some triple threat, maybe fatal four-way style matches. So anyways, my result, my prediction for that SmackDown Women's Championship match is Sasha Banks to retain over Carmella. Moving on, we have next the WWE Championship match with champion Drew McIntyre taking on Goldberg. Bill Goldberg. That wasn't a slip up. Bill Goldberg is old. He's 54, turning 55 this year. This is a guy who, I'll be honest, and I've said this many times before on my podcast, he's never been a good wrestler. I'm sorry. He had certainly his exciting period of time, which was in the late 90s for the rival company WCW. Sure, he's had, a few interesting moments in the WWE, but his peak as a wrestler, and I would actually put quotations around wrestling, the word wrestling for him, that came in the 90s in WCW. He was exciting because he had an unbeaten streak going, but Bill Goldberg is an ex-football player, never been much of a match technician or a mat technician. He's never been very good in the ring. He ended Bret Hitman Hart's career with a dangerous kick to the temple, which subsequently led to a stroke for Bret, and worsened health. I know that wasn't intentional or anything on Goldberg's part, but the point is, not a good wrestler, and he's also very old. He should not be returning just to get a top championship spot at one of the big four events in the WWE calendar. To me, that's disgraceful. There's so many more deserving competitors on the roster who fight year-round. who deserve a shot at a title like this. For whatever reason, and actually I think the reason is because WWE is trying to cash in on whatever's left of Goldberg's, fan interest and legacy. They're trying to make this a high-profile match. A few years ago, they had Goldberg do the same thing, where he came in at Royal Rumble, faced the champion at the time, who was Kevin Owens, and had him defeat Kevin Owens, setting up a match with, who was it, Brock Lesnar? It doesn't matter. Goldberg's matches are not good or memorable. His matches will last no longer than 5 or 6 minutes because, quite honestly, he's only about a 2 or 3 move wrestler. I really hope that the company doesn't pull one of those situations again where they make him win and have him defend it at WrestleMania and lose it to somebody. That would be a joke. I mean, they even did that like last year. He came and who did he fight? He was supposed to fight Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns had to back out last year because of his health reasons. So they thrust Braun Strowman into that role, who won the belt. So I don't know. It's hard to imagine them not involving Goldberg at WrestleMania since they brought him in just for Royal Rumble here. But if he wins the belt over Drew McIntyre, I hope that fans out there are really pissed off and really upset, because the guy has no business being an active wrestler in the company anymore, period. So I hope, for the sake of the WWE Universe and for the sake of good creative, Drew McIntyre will retain his belt and bring that forward to WrestleMania. And whatever they do with Bill Goldberg, I just hope it's not any type of top slot in a pay-per-view card anymore, because the guy needs to go. So Drew McIntyre is my overwhelmingly enthusiastic pick to win, or to retain, his WWE Championship over Goldberg in that third match. Moving on to the fourth match. It's for the Universal Championship, with the Universal Champion Roman Reigns taking on the aforementioned Kevin Owens in a last man standing match. I love Kevin Owens. Great wrestler. He's a grinder. He's someone that's, paid his dues, worked hard. He's got some title opportunities, and he's won the belt a few times. He's never had a prolonged run, though, which I hope he does get at some point, because he's certainly earned it. Unfortunately, I do think the company has got Roman Reigns pegged to hold this belt, certainly up until WrestleMania. I've been saying this for months, because Roman Reigns, now that he's a fully blown heel character, they're really embracing him, using dirty tactics, doing what he has to do to win matchups, to retain his belt. And he's also a big draw. He's a top draw. The company's been pushing him for the last 6-7 years very strongly. It didn't go so well when they were trying to push him as a good guy, babyface character. But this heel turn, this being a bad guy, has worked out pretty well. And that said, I think he's going to retain his Universal Championship up until WrestleMania. I don't know if Kevin Owens will factor into any future, if the feud will carry on beyond this. It'd be nice if it did, but I don't think he's going to win the big belt here either tonight or come WrestleMania, unfortunately. So my pick for the last man standing match for the Universal Championship is for Roman Reigns to retain the belt. Now, moving on to the 2 Royal Rumble matches, and I guess I've realized as I've given those first 4 predictions that I have no major titles changing hands. That's okay. That's odd times they will do that. I might be wrong in one of these predictions, but none of them seem like the adequate time for the belts to drop. So I'm sticking with my predictions. So let's first discuss the Women's Royal Rumble match. So far, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, there's been 3 Women's Royal Rumble matches so far. Asuka won the first, then Becky Lynch won the next, and Charlotte Flair won last year. Charlotte Flair, I think, like I said, her and Asuka they're going to be fighting for one of the top 2 belts, which will look like it appears to be the Raw Women's championship come WrestleMania time. The company loves her, though, and she's really good, no question about it, but they always seem to give her lots of the belts, lots of title opportunities, which is why I think they're building a feud with her and Asuka for Mania. So that said, I don't want to see Charlotte Flair win this Royal Rumble 2 years in a row. That'd be really boring, and there's a lot of other extremely talented women on the roster who are equally deserving. And my pick for this match is someone who's been around just as long as Charlotte, but does not get appreciated as much, mainly on account of the fact that she's a part of the Hart family. And Bret Hart has had, anyone that knows WWE history knows that Bret Hart had a lot of issues with Vince McMahon in the past, which resulted when he first left the company in a, behind-the-scenes skirmish between the two, which left Vince McMahon knocked out unconscious in front of a number of other, top WWE employees and management. So it's been a tough road for Natalya to have success in a company, with that sort of blemish. Well, it's not even a blemish. That's just, that's going to be held against her, the fact that she's a Hart from the Hart family. We did learn just in the last day or so that she's going to be entering the Rumble at number 30. And so I mentioned also in this podcast that I think the winner of this Women's Royal Rumble match will go on and face the winner of the SmackDown Women's Championship, who I think, like I said earlier, will be Sasha Banks. And Sasha and Natalya, they've have a lot of history. I would love to see the two of them battle it out for the SmackDown Women's Championship at WrestleMania. If Carmella happens to stay involved in the feud with Sasha in that time and gets involved, okay, I'm all right with that. But Natalya deserves a WrestleMania main event championship spot for sure. She's amazing, one of the best ever to do it. She calls herself the BOAT, the best of all time. So my pick is for Natalya to win the Royal Rumble match for the women tonight. And now moving on to the men's Royal Rumble match. I think, after consideration, my pick's got to go with Daniel Bryan. He seems to be getting the most response from the crowd lately, that we can sort of tell through the Thunderdome atmosphere that the WWE's, that's how they're conducting live wrestling these days. And Daniel Bryan's so accomplished. He's a guy that is one of the best, in-ring wrestlers ever, not just even in this company, but all time. Just a tremendous technical wrestler, very deserving of being in the main event. And quite honestly, he's one of the few people I can see who they would consider throwing up against Roman Reigns and dethroning Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I'm not saying that will happen necessarily, but my pick will be is for Daniel Bryan to win the men's Royal Rumble match. And a lot of people, I'm sure, are going to be picking Braun Strowman, who's just returned after a few months hiatus, and he looks stronger than ever. He's a beast for sure. And in fact, it would be great maybe to see Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre go to battle at WrestleMania. But for now, this matchup, for the sake of my prediction, I'm choosing Daniel Bryan to win. So those are my 6 predictions. Just a quick recap. I have Sasha Banks winning. I have Charlotte Flair and Asuka winning. Roman Reigns winning. Drew McIntyre winning. And then for the Rumble matches, I have Natalya and Daniel Bryan. And on a side note, before I sign off here, the Royal Rumble, I just learned recently, I'm a big fan, of course, of this company's history, but we just learned recently that the recently departed Pat Patterson, who is a wrestling, he's pretty iconic in the wrestling world, beloved. He's done a lot for to move the company and the business forward. He's the one that created this Royal Rumble matchup, which is, like I already said, it's my favorite match of the whole year, and the fact that we get 2 of them nowadays is fantastic. And he just passed in the last couple months, and so special thoughts out to him and his family, because this matchup is so great and has such strong implications in the WWE year. It's one of the it's one of the top accolades that a wrestler can win if they are the victor of the Royal Rumble match. So such a special match created by a real special guy that moved the company forward. So a special shout out to him and his family. And, I'm sure there'll be some mention of Pat Patterson on tonight's broadcast, hopefully. So there you have it, folks. Those are my predictions for the 2021 Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Hope you liked what you heard, and if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel below. Thanks very much for listening, and see you next time.